man, and we'll start seeing if we get any guests in that. And hey, thanks for coming. Well, probably put a damper on your Christmas being laid up like that.
Yeah, well, like I said, I got a friend of mine that's a chiropractor, and I kind of reached out to him, and he had said that, well, see, last year I ended up in the hospital with this, but it was both my legs.
Oh,
Um, I'd fell 13 feet some years back, and I banged myself up pretty good. So they deemed that uh, as a result of that fall, that there could have been some stuff done, like nerve wise inside, whatnot. And for the longest time, it hadn't bothered me. Like I was getting along pretty decent. The odd time you get some numbness or, but the other day when I went to get up, it's like basically my right leg was like shutting itself off. My left was absolute, and it's still my left leg is absolutely fine. So they gave me this kind of this laser treatment, and he did this at a kind of a gesture of goodwill. Like he came into his shop or his office, and he said, "Well, I'll do this." And for a few hours, it felt good, and I was walking around and whatnot. But I had a hard time sitting up straight. It felt like a lot of pressure on my hip. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So once you lay down and kind of alleviate the pressure off it, it's like it eases itself up. But the minute you go to get up, everything changes. So yeah, but we're here.
All right. So we got three viewers, and Sean, thank you for the Merry Christmas. I did send out a Christmas little brief Christmas thing to everyone this morning, but it
Yeah, I
looks
seen that. Yeah.
so I don't know what everyone being busy. Let me look. I got 69 or so of them to show up, or 72. So you don't know if everyone's busy on Christmas Day or not. You
Oh, for
know,
sure.
just bored and want to do something a little different because I was talking to the brother's grandkids and they're going from one grandmother, parents' house, every other damn thing. And I was talking
Yep.
a little bit, but yeah, it gets hectic. That's why it's just me and the wife. Everything's quiet, calm. I call everybody on the phone or video chat with them, the family out of state, and then they're not here. They're making a mess, going nuts, or arguing, you know, carrying on.
You get any of your snow you were expecting?
No, what happened with us? We thought there'd be snow, and down here you get an inch of snow. There's no plows, no salt, no sand, nothing. So when it snows, you're stuck till that stuff melts. And the way the roads are down here, because I lived here 18 years or something, and I
Right.
think out of those 18 years, there's been three or four of them where it snowed to where I couldn't get out and go to work. And it's not much. It's like 3 inches, you know. I mean, up in New York, you laugh at it. But down here, the way the roads are, they go up and down hills, and you can slide right off into a ditch. You
Yeah.
know, so it's pretty good to just stay at home whenever that goes on.
Do they even do they sell snow tires down there for cars and trucks?
Well, you get what they call all season. They don't have. They used to. I remember in the old days they used to sell you the studded snow tires, like up in New York.
Mm-hmm.
You used to get them, but what you had to do is by a certain date, you'd put them on in the fall, and
Yep.
they actually had dates to where you can put them on, and then they had to be taken off because they,
Same as here.
yeah. But down, then after that, years passed. I don't think anyone changes their snow tires because now you get what they call those all season tires or something. They have a term for it. They're supposed to be good in all weather and snow and
Yep.
everything. And that's all you see anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I know down in North Carolina, you can't buy studded snow tires. I didn't
No.
see.
No,
But
like I put my winter tires on. I got a different set of rims. Like my car, the summer tire would be a 17-inch, and they're like a really low profile tire, like a sport tire.
yeah,
And you would not get far into snow with that whatsoever. A little bit of snow, that's dangerous. It'd be like you're like on skis because the tires are so wide. But the winter tires, I go to a 16-inch rim and a narrower tire, and it's like night and day. I mean, we had one snowstorm here, and the plows didn't get out till later on, so I just went out kind of nosing around or whatever, and I had no problem getting through a foot of snow.
all right, ain't bad. Somebody asked, "What's your opinion of the Sig X10 10 millimeter?" I don't have one because I don't even know what that is, and I don't shoot any 10 mil uh, pistols.
Yeah, that's something that's kind of out of my area too. I don't do much into the pistol aspect of things, but a 10 millimeter cartridge, that's 40 caliber, is it not?
Well, yeah, it's the old 10 mil. That when that came out in the late 70s, that's where Miami Vice, Don Johnson,
Mm-hmm.
that's Ren 10. And the 10 millimeter was supposed to be the cartridge. It's more powerful than the 45 and all this other stuff. And I think the FBI adopted them, Smith and Wesson pistol back then. But the thing is, the guns are so powerful that half of the agents, especially the women in that, couldn't use the damn things.
Couldn't handle them.
Right, and that's where Smith and Wesson come up with the 40 Smith and Wesson.
Yeah. I got
That
a couple of buddies that shoot the 40s.
the 40's got some punch to it too, and it's the shortened version of the 10 millimeter. You know,
Yeah.
the 40, when you go to sell guns here, and that's another thing, the ammunition's expensive as shit.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if you had Glocks are popular. I've had a 9 millimeter Glock and a 40 millimeter Glock. It's almost impossible to sell a 40. The 9 millimeter Glock, man, within hours, somebody pick it up and buy it. But the 40, a few guys like it, and then you get a lot of guys like the 45. Okay, there's a ton of people that I've seen locally that the 45 is what they go to. And the 45, my wife can shoot 1911, a full size 1911 made out of metal. My wife can
Mm-hmm.
shoot. Okay, it's controllable. It's you can doesn't have the snap. It's like the
No.
9 millimeter Mac. The 9 millimeter Makarov, unless you have one of them Bulgarian all steel guns, if you get the ones with alloy frames, it's pretty much an uncomfortable gun to shoot. It does sting
That's
your.
the 9 by 23, is it?
It's the 9 by 18, I believe.
Or 18 Makarov? Yes. Okay.
Them Hungarian guns with the aluminum frames. I think the
Oh, okay.
P64s or 83. Them things, man, they hurt your hands. They're uncomfortable to shoot. The Polish
Yeah.
gun, the little P64, that's just so small that it's uncomfortable to shoot, even though it's all metal. But the 83 is a stamped frame. And even at there, that has some bang to it. You feel it. But I like, if you get one of them Bulgarian, or if you get one of the hell's not the Bulgarians. There's a couple other ones made out of metal, or real Russian ones. They're not a bad gun,
No.
but people have looked at me. Oh, I need something loaded down or lighter load. Well, it's a blowback pistol, man. You can,
Yeah.
the thing about it.
The only pistol that I ever had for any bit of time, I had a Smith revolver in 44 Magnum 44 Special, because I had the Marlin rifle in 44 Magnum and 44 Special to go with it. But you start loading that thing up stout with 300 grain XTPs. That was hard on the hands, I'm going to tell you.
I still got my Smith 29. I've never
That's what I had. Yep.
I never went full bore with it. I
No.
think I 10 grains of unique behind a Lyman 255 grain cast bullet.
Yeah, I remember shooting. Well, see, the problem I had with cast was my Merlin rifle had the micro groove rifling, and if you shot cast through it, the rifling got leaded up quick if you didn't use gas check bullets.
Yeah.
So my buddy that was at the gun club, he was shooting 44 and a Ruger Red Hawk, and he was loading 300 grain XTPs and 240 XTPs, and it was a great load for my rifle. It was a very good hunting round. And I tried firing a few of them in that Smith revolver. I'm going to tell you, they took pictures of me in slow motion, and the fireball completely encompassed the whole, like the whole gun was a fireball.
Yeah.
Like it looked like the gun caught on fire.
Cylinder gun. All right, 300 blackout. That really, it's not bad. I built a carbine and I had a pistol. It's kind of like the whole idea behind it was like to have a short barreled rifle with a 220 grain 30 caliber bullet to use it like a submachine gun, like under 100 yards. At least that's what the guys, when I was talking about it with some fellas that were active duty in the 82nd Airborne. Really, in a way, 300 blackout just for the convenience of the ammo would be all right. But you could use something like anything in a 7.62 by 39. You know, the ammo. Well, the ammo used to be cheap. Now I don't know. But 300 blackout, I don't know. I have a carbine. I shoot it. Kind of like it. I just punch paper with it. I really don't know if it have a practical value to it or as a military weapon. I'm not quite sure. And it's pretty simple to convert, and you can get 5.56 brass converted to 300 blackout pretty inexpensively. So that's a good thing about it. And Merry Christmas. P64 isn't bad except for the trigger, but then again, that's just like a little tiny close range gun. Some guns don't cycle. Have you bought any more guns from Royal Tiger Import? No, I haven't. And the only reason I bought those little short Vetterlies is because they are rare. But I'm not in a gun buying of the antiques at this moment. What the big thing is now with this crisis where we were out of guns and ammos for years, this winter, I'm picking up all these handguns and I'm getting $150 off. And that's not the MSRP. That's like the MSRP is usually $350, $300, and they sell for $280. I'm getting $150 off of that.
Mm-hmm.
These $350 guns I'm picking up for $240, brand new. Some have rebates, some don't.
Cheap enough.
It's crazy. I mean, I just put them away and wait for the next election year or crisis or whatever when everyone's paying $500 for them.
Yeah, it's a little different up here with respect to what's going on, but time will tell.
Well, what are they talking? I guess you were the one telling me, I think.
Yep.
Going to do something. They're not going to be like the countries where you got to turn the guns in. It's going to be New Jersey was the one that did it. They don't want to buy them back and all this other stuff because everyone starts arguing about this. Because like I'm telling you now, how do you go by what price? The price on stuff is so volatile. Okay, where some AR-15s go for $800 and they've been as low as $400 or $398 before this last election year. And I mean, the guy had a dozen of them. They were just generic ARs. And how do you give somebody a buyback price, especially some of the stuff that's $2,000,
or more?
Yeah. So what they did in Jersey is if you had something, they passed the law. If you had it, you kept it. Couldn't sell it, give it away, leave it in an estate. And I guess there's a magic place that once they sign your certificate with the coroner, your time of death, somebody appears to take it and then destroy it. be it the assault rifles or whatever. So is that what they're proposing up there in Canada?
No idea. All I can tell you is that the Criminal Code of Canada says one thing, how a firearms classified, and the government has their own take on it. Their term deemed assault style weapon is not a term recognized in the Criminal Code of Canada. So what they're trying to do is say a firearm that fires in a semi-automatic manner, firing a center fire cartridge. The key word here now is capable of holding a magazine of greater than 5 rounds. So, for instance, they listed my grandfather's old Remington Model 742 Woodmaster 308 on there. Now, in Canada, a semi-automatic rifle centerfire that has a magazine that's 10 rounds would be illegal. So they usually pin them or they convert them to be 5 rounds or less. Now, my rifle came from factory with a 4-round mag. It's in 308.
Right.
Okay, so you wouldn't think that'd be on the list, but it is, because there were aftermarket magazines available some years ago, but in Canada, a magazine of that kind is still a prohibited device already. So they're kind of rehashing, like refrying beans, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, a Parker shotgun, as you guys would have had in the States, they made very few of them in 8 gauge, and there are very few 8 gauge shotguns available. So they have a rule up here of bore diameters exceeding 20 millimeters are prohibited weapons. So they've just prohibited an 8 gauge antique shotgun that even ammunition is not available for. What they targeted was grenade launchers that are already prohibited.
Right.
Now, they also have another rule for energy output of 10,000 joules. That equates to 7,600 foot-pounds of muzzle energy. So what they've already tried to do is outlaw 50 BMG, and by doing so, they put a blanket of that energy level. But guess what? 460 Weatherby also hits 7,600 foot-pounds energy. So they got the Ruger number 1s on the list. They've got the bolt action Rugers on the list. They've got bolt and what they say variants. So I'll give you an example. I told you about that Parker shotgun. Right. So they list the Parker shotgun, but they don't list it by its definition of being an above 20 millimeter bore. They blanket it and say Parker double barrel hammerless shotgun is prohibited. Now, the criminal code says it has to have the 20 millimeter bore. The amendment in the regulations doesn't have that stated. So technically what they've done is they paintbrushed all double barrel shotguns as prohibited, because any double barrel shotgun would be a variant of a Parker shotgun.
Huh.
Now, Mauser Sporter they put on the list. And they also by name listed the Mauser 1908 Brazilian rifle. Now you're going to say, well, I thought this was only for semi-automatic rifles with detachable box magazines, and you're right. But now they're targeting weapons of war. They don't want no military surplus weapons on the street. They were made for the battlefield, they said, not the woods. So they want to take all those.
Well, the only difference is the stock and sight configuration.
They don't care.
Yeah, that's
liberals.
All right, we got a question here. Somebody asked, so did pistol braces get banned? I really don't know. I wasn't following it. We got hit. The reason I stopped following the braces is I don't have a pistol and a brace anymore. I took that apart, and I'll probably sell that pistol length upper and just get rid of it. But I was more worried about the new forms for the ATF the, oh, I have it written down. I can't remember. 4473s when you buy a gun. And I actually filled out one of the new ones. And again, a lot of confusion, a lot of bullshit. And what they're trying to do is if an FFL dealer takes or transfers a weapon and there are mistakes on the form, okay, either something is the house number's wrong, or like a guy put 22 instead of 220 pounds. Somebody must have distracted him or forgot to put the zero or something. It goes against the dealer. And if he gets enough paperwork mistakes, or they find several of them, they can suspend his license. So what they're doing is they're making the paperwork kind of confusing. And I believe there's a rule, because I was somewhere and the guy was asking questions about filling the form out. He goes like, what does it mean if you ever denounced your U.S. citizenship? And the guy at the gun counter said, I cannot help you answer the questions. Okay. And this was years ago. And I told him, did you join the French Foreign Legion or go fight a war in Angola or get citizenship somewhere else? He goes, no. I said, then you check no to that. Okay. You didn't on paper anywhere denounce your citizenship. So that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to limit the number of people that can sell guns by making the paperwork so confusing, and on a bullshit call yank their licenses, and that's what it is. As for the pistol braces, it's crazy because they said that they're legal and everyone made them, and they were selling these guns supposedly sometime this month. It's supposed to go in effect, and basically anything with a brace that can be held up to your shoulder, or they flip-flopped on that. They were going to outlaw it, then they weren't going to outlaw it, and they said not to do it. And then now they got this weird thing with 10 different choices. And the simple thing is, with an AR, take the short barrel off, put a long barrel on, get rid of the brace. I don't even know where the hell mine is. I took it off and I lost it. So I was going to make a video and show. I don't even know where the hell it went. I just built it back as a carbine. And they can't do nothing. And then again, it varies from state to state also. Some states can be really picky. I guess one guy, when we're talking about the 80% and finishing the pistols and that, one guy said that in one state, I think it's Illinois or something, up where Chicago is, he said, even if you have the unfinished kit, it's a non-gun. It's not finished, it's not assembled, but it's a plastic frame with no metal in it. Okay, you still have to go unfinished and have a serial number put on it, or you're breaking the law after a certain. Wow. So, and how are they going to find that? Do they actually go around and search everyone's house for a box? But see, a lot of these people who get caught with this crap, they're doing something to draw attention, or they're pushing it.
Usually.
Yeah, because like the one guy, what he was doing is they got him on a tape. They were watching a drug dealer, and he was assembling these guns, and he showed them in a parking lot of some strip mall. He pulls up to the car, shakes the guy's hand. He hands him a wad of bills, and he hands him a couple boxes with the finished guns in them. Okay, and he wonders how he got caught. That's but anyone who buys that kit knows if you build the kit and sell it to a known criminal who's paying you 10 times more than what you paid, you're breaking the law. If you don't understand that, that's a load of shit right there and that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Question.
And criminals aren't going to look at whether they're doing good or bad. It's I got 10 grand or I didn't get 10 grand. That's what they're looking at.
All right. So the new forms. I don't know when those are supposed to go in effect in February, because the guy that I know, it's a dealer, told me that. He goes, I'm not changing anything or doing anything. And also a lot of your big stores, if you go to a sporting goods store and that, they make you fill out that form on a tablet. and they have not yet updated their software. Because I went and picked the gun up, you know, and they haven't updated. They got until February to do it. But it's asking you like, do you live in the city limits? And I think that is someone goes, that's just to confuse you or something. I said, well, there are local laws that say inside the city limits. And I remember they did that back in the 80s. Albany, which is New York State capital, it was against the law to own AR-15 or a AK-47 inside the city limits. There was a city ordinance. You couldn't have one. I don't know what would happen if you got caught or how serious the charge was, or if they just confiscated the damn thing and would never give it back to you. They could pull that shit too. Then you got to hire a lawyer and probably pay double the price of the gun to get it back. But I think that's why they added that on there. And then they just reiterate the fact, they kind of ask you, do you intend to buy this firearm and sell it to a known terrorist, convicted felon, or drug dealer, or somebody with a criminal record of dealing in drugs? I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, this whole, well, from what's going on up here and what's going on down there, I think when you look on it from the political sense, there are similarities in their objectives, right?
Yeah, it's to. I don't think, at least not in my lifetime, they'll never be able to outlaw guns here in the States. That's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
30, 40 years from now, I have no idea. Okay, but right now that's not going to happen. It's usually a state or something that will outlaw, like New Jersey done it. Easy now. New Jersey's done it. New York. If you had an AR-15, you were supposed to go and have it registered with the state, and things like that. Federally, we don't have those laws, and I doubt very much would pass. But they tried to do everything. They some states tried it. I remember West Virginia or Virginia was going to impose all these state restrictions, and they really didn't. The only one that got through was the red flag law. Okay. And that's where, if my neighbors seen I was acting erratically, or I'm out arguing with my wife or arguing with the neighbors, and they see me with a gun, they say, well, this guy, none of the neighbors like him. He's always arguing and stuff. And we've seen him with a gun, any kind of gun, wandering around. That could get the police to come and visit you.
Yep.
You're threatening, or the red flag, your behavior. And then it's up to the local law enforcement to decide how your behavior is. Of course, I talked to some guys that used to be in law enforcement, and they told me, I said, how do you know it's going to be a rough day? He goes, you pull somebody over for a traffic stop, and he starts swearing and yelling at you right when you pull him over. Okay?
Yeah.
He goes, I know it's going to be a problem right there and then. He goes, most of the people are quiet, ask you, what did I do, whatever, not a problem. But he goes, the ones you walk up to the car and already they're argumentative, going nuts, foaming at the mouth, gonna start, And again, like I said, a lot of people bring that shit on themselves. Going out in public, making a display. But then again, back in the 90s, when they started with that crime bill, there's a guy, he borrowed from his uncle an M1 carbine. So his uncle gave him the gun, had the clip in it or whatever. So he took it. He was going to go to the gun range. Actually, he belonged to a gun club. So he said, I get out of my house and I'm loading the car up and come down here to the range. And he goes, I didn't have a case or anything for the rifle. So I just put it in the car. I forgot something, went back into the house, and then came out of the house, and there's a police car at the end of the driveway. And he goes to the policeman, what seems to be the problem? And he goes, a neighbor called in and said they seen you with a gun with a clip in it standing in your driveway. And they called us immediately. And he showed the guy the, it's the M1 carbine, my uncle. And he goes, why isn't it in a case? And why is this? And he goes, I don't have one. I was just loading the car. I'm going to shoot it and take it back to my uncle. And he's like, oh, nothing happened. But the fact that he was just loading stuff into his car and the damn police are in the driveway asking him questions, that's why I became good friends with my neighbors. I don't talk to none of mine. But anyway. So I don't know. I guess I sent an invite to Sean. Don't know if he might be with the family or something.
I never heard from him in the last bit, so it's just in the last you had there, the last chat where he chimed in a couple times. That was it. That's the last time I heard from him.
Oh, all right. Well, don't matter. Somebody's here. Turnout ain't good. I'm going to do another one on Sunday on New Year's, but who knows? Everybody be hung over.
God knows.
I thought for sure some of the guys from outside I got you here, but I thought some of the fellas like from New Zealand and shit would show up, but
Sammy and them fellas.
I guess there were several of them, and I get a lot of people from Austria, Europe. There's some European countries every now and then, somebody from South America. But I had, there were some Australians and some guys from New Zealand that every time I went live would show up. And then we get some from different European countries.
Well, sometimes when we went on before, there'd be guys like Biker Bob, Thor's Axe, the Edge, they call him. Like I went on one of his chats a while back. I haven't heard from him in ages. And nice fella. Yeah. And there was a few Canadian guys from out west, but it could be the holiday thing. It might be busier.
Well, everyone is. I was getting warmed up here. My brother's grandkids sent me a video link, wanted to talk to me. So I had to talk to my great niece and nephew there and I said, look, I got to go live. My oldest nephew's 10 years old. What's that? I said, go live. Can I come on? I said, why not? Whatever. But they're opening Christmas presents. They're grandma hopping today.
Oh, okay.
My grandmother. Yeah. So they like that shit. So.
Yep. Now it was quiet here, so.
Whatever happened to Biker Bob? Don't know.
I don't know. He used to pop into the chats. Him, like I said, it was Biker Bob, and then there was Thor's Axe, The Edge, Gun Geek. I haven't heard from him in a dog's age. I don't know if he's just kind of on sabbatical or whatnot. I couldn't tell you.
Well, one of two things. He either went and enlisted in Ukrainian volunteer forces or, I don't know. Who knows with him?
Don't know. I was talking to him one day, and then all of a sudden, I never heard from him. Sean had said same thing. Oh, excuse me. Sean said the same thing. He hadn't heard from him in a little bit, so I'm assuming maybe he's working or his job might have changed. He doesn't have the time, or I'm assuming.
I forget. He had some kind of variable shift or something, I guess, because I asked him something. He goes, well, I got to see when I'm working. I work some days, and then whatever he was doing.
That's right. Yep.
It's variable. So you're right. Maybe he got lucked out and working some OT or something, and he's working 6 days a week. Yeah,
he hasn't put much of videos on either.
Yeah. I got a question here. Matthew's opinion. I was just wondering which one of these budget pistols would you buy? That's a good question because I'm right in the middle of working on this stuff. And like I was telling Rod, you know, here in America, we can just buy, you know, it depends where you live. You know, where I live, if I want to buy a gun, I just buy it. There's no restriction. Uh, they would be suspicious if I bought 6 of them at one time. Then you're going to get nailed for gun running, you know. But like I was telling Rodney, with these price fluctuations, there was a point a year and a half, 2 years ago, you couldn't find any gun. And if they did come in, you were paying MSRP plus.
Yep.
Okay. So now you look at the MSRP, so you're telling me these budget pistols. A lot of people don't like Taurus, and Taurus is famous when they're going to phase something out, like the 709, which was a halfway decent gun. They dropped the price to where, you know, I was paying close to, I looked it up, like 280, close to $300 for them. You can buy them for $190, $180 when they're closing them out. And now what Taurus has is, depending on if you like the models, the G3C, which isn't a terrible carry gun, or the G2C, which is kind of an older style. They're kind of similar, but the frames are different. You can't use the same holsters for them. Or the GX4, the little micro damn thing. When I bought the first GX4 a year after they were new, and the price dropped down, everything with sales tax and that was like $375. Well, I bought one on sale at Sportsman's Warehouse with the $50 rebate. It's like $238 when it's all said and done, which that's a pretty big difference. Now, also there were issues. They had dead triggers with them GX4s and other problems. The one I had, I really didn't fire it that much, but it worked. Some Tauruses will work really great out of the box and be fine. Some won't. Now you got the Tauruses, but then you got the Turkish pistols. Now the Turkish pistols are putting the Tauruses to shame, even though the price point's higher. Okay, like that full size one I got, that American Tactical FXS9 or whatever, full size gun. They had it on sale for $199. It's a 340 or 350 retail gun. You could get them just, you know, around 300, 320 or something. The guys were saying on different videos about a year ago. 199, that's a big drop. And then those Stogers, they got a $50 rebate. Again, 240 for 350, 360 retail gun. All right. So
Yep.
it's not a bad pistol either. The only weird thing about that, I'll do another video, that back strap has that really aggressive stippling, or it's almost like a bed of nails on the back of that damn thing. And Canax, yeah, Canax, the one I bought was about $400, but it comes with a paddle holster, extra mags, and all that. And that gun is phenomenal. But now the Canac, they had another sale that I went, and they have them colorized or something, and they were, the retail on them was close to 500 because they're a special order. They had that thing for 200 or 300 and 350 for a gun that was MSRP was like 480. Okay, and the Canacs are nice, and you get a holster and all this accessories in there. And that Buffalo, the other one, that Buffalo Ammunition Company, or the BSA 9 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Same place has them for, they were a $330 gun or something. You can pick them up for $240. I mean, that's like $100, you know, almost $100 off the MSRP. You know, and any of them Turkish guns. I think I bought that SAA or something, but I had that, and I was gonna sell the Canac because I shot the Canac a lot. And even though that gun was nice and good, the Canac still shot better than it. You know. Turkish
Yeah,
grain.
some of the stuff they got coming out of Turkey now, like shotguns and rifles, they're not bad.
Well, the shotguns, I tried buying them years ago. The shotguns were the first things that came out. The TriStar or something like that. And I
Hmm.
bought a 28 gauge over and under. And I got it dirt cheap. And I was trying to shoot around. I bought it to shoot skeet. So I was at station one and I kept missing,
Hmm.
trying to figure out where the hell this gun's shooting. And I forget. So when I shot doubles and the one's coming at me and I went to shoot that, I fired and that thing was so far off, I hit the other one coming up the other way. It was
Hmm.
shooting, I mean, a huge distance off, an
Yeah.
awful lot.
Yeah.
So them barrels weren't soldered on there straight.
No,
Something,
they weren't regulated right. No.
no. So that one had to go. No wonder I got it. Cheap. Yeah, there's several different brands out there. TS, Canac, SAS, or whatever. But the thing about the Turkish guns is the price is good. They give you a bunch of accessories that they're a little bit more expensive than Taurus's, but the guns shoot well. And I've never had any trouble with any of the Turkish guns. The only
No.
problem, nobody really makes holsters and stuff for them because they're
Yeah.
odd. And I don't know if you did have trouble, if something broke or you broke an extractor or something like that. I mean, I don't know about getting parts or any aftermarket stuff for them either.
Yeah.
But
Well, there's lots of makers like Yildi for the shotguns. It was like you said there
well,
uh
they mark them.
TriStar, Huglu, Yildiz,
You know,
Adler. There was actually some of the Weatherby shotguns. I had an SA08. They were made in Turkey.
yeah.
Um, and the PA08 pumps, they're made in Turkey. Um, it ain't the Weatherbys we had, the Centurions and the Orions and stuff we had years ago. For sure, something that was made in the U.S. A real Roy Weatherby gun.
Hmm. Well, I had a Weatherby. Someone told me it was a, what are they, SKBs or something?
Yep,
So
Ithaca made them SKBs as well.
he goes, it's what they would do is just take the SKBs, and if they had real nice wood on it, they'd make it a Weatherby
Yep.
and stamp it.
Um, my buddy's got an Ithaca SKB over and under 12.
Yeah, yeah,
Beautiful, it's a beautiful gun.
and they all patterned and shot well.
Yeah, the only downfall is to the older guns, of course, is now with the what you call non-toxic shot rules. A lot of the old barrels, the dimensions and chokes don't allow,
Yeah,
say,
the
to safely shoot them without bulging them or something, right?
well, the steel shot, you mean, or
Yeah.
the yeah, yeah, because see, it used to be for adjustable chokes. You'd
Hmm.
get whatever, anywhere from improved cylinder, they were always stamped on the barrel, like the old Remington 87 or over and unders and side by sides. You know, you used to be able to order them full or full mod or whatever, you know. But
Yep.
see, I don't hunt.
Well, I got a buddy of mine with a Wingmaster 870, a beautiful gun, but it's a full choke barrel. And
Yeah.
back in the day, that was the thing to have. And he fired like half a box out of it, and he put an egg in the barrel. So he had to cut the barrel back and get a gunsmith to put a choke, a Remington choke into it. But technically, you ruined the value collector wise. It's still usable, but he had
Yeah.
to like get rid of 5 inches of barrel to put the new choke in.
Ooh. Yeah. Yeah.
So from
Let me
30
see.
inch to 25 inch, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, 30 to 20. That's a lot of barrel.
Yep.
Yeah. Let me see. I think I paid $349 for my SARB6 CZ75. Yeah. That's about what they were going for a few years ago. Because I forget what I had. I had some weird 9mm pistol that had a slide shaped like, oh, what the hell were them things they made in Israel? Uh, I don't know. It was an unusual gun, but that's about what I paid for it. It was a good gun. It was just big, clunky, and heavy. Um, but you know, now like I said, you're paying 3.5 for them. You can buy them for 2.5. You know,
Yeah.
and that's what screws you up on your used gun price. Say you had a gun, you wanted to get something better or newer, and you wanted to trade it in or to sell it to get money. I've done that. I've sold one gun to get money to buy a nicer gun or a different one. Now you and they did this stuff with brand names, Smith and Wessons, Rugers, anything. You
Yeah.
go out during the panic, and I mean it's expensive, and then the company drops the price to a year later or something by 40%, and now you could go in the store and buy a brand new one for $60 less. Trying to sell that gun used, now you got screwed. Now you're going to lose big.
Yeah.
You like it and want to keep it.
Yeah. Well, it's like the mill surfs now. I remember when Century International used to be up here, I had bought a brand firing new Lee Enfield #4 Mark II Irish contract, never fired. It was into grease. It was one of the ones that had the black phosphate coating on them. You know what I mean? The really yellowish colored wood. Brand
Yeah.
new guns. I paid $225 for it, plus the taxes and the mail. I think it came to just under $400 to the door. And I saw one the other night on Gun Post that's like the Cross Canada, like it'd be like Guns International or Gun Broker type deal, like for private gun sales. And the guy wanted $3,700 for it, and it's sold.
Yeah, because like you said, I remember buying some surplus guns and decent ones, not the ones with no finish, no bore, no nothing.
Yeah,
Uh,
shooters.
but I mean, you could get at one time years ago, like
Mm-hmm.
almost, I'd say 80% guns. You know, I mean, real nice stuff, and it wasn't that expensive. You might have paid a little more than the beat up ones. Another
Oh yeah.
$60. But like you're talking about, brand new in the grease and everything. And what was that run they made for the Suez crisis? That's where the ones come in a mummy wrap. I remember that. They had a bunch of them come in there. And it was
Yep.
the last run the British made of the Enfield rifles, bolt action rifles. And they were close to about $200. I could
Mm-hmm.
get a used one of any model for about 100 and a quarter at the time. It's back in the 80s now. And I mean, they
Yeah.
had, you go to the gun show, there was a pile of them.
Yep.
Okay. And them things now go for, I mean, Enfields alone, any of them in any condition. You're talking, and then say over time, yeah, any decent mill surplus gun nowadays, $300. Like if you find the Mosins or something, about $300.
Mm-hmm.
The gun's complete, it's in good shape, it's shootable. You're saying $700, $800 for a very common gun.
Yep.
Okay.
Well,
And like you're new or mint, these guys go nuts. And I don't know if I tried to sell something, say I had something like it, I put it out on a gun broker, nobody touches it with a 10 foot.
no.
And see, this is where you don't know, that may have been true. You don't know. You can't verify it that somebody paid
Mm-hmm.
that. But a lot of the stuff on a gun broker, I believe, is fake because
Yeah.
paying over $1,000 for a M44 carbine of some sort. Which when them things come in, I think if they were beat up and used, or you could find them new. I remember buying them new for about 100 and a quarter. They were
Yep.
like brand new, and then the used ones that were beat up were like $60. You know,
When Century was running up here, and I've got one of their old catalogs here, I'm pretty sure they had the Carcanos were like $29 each. The Austrian 8x56s were $20 each. Austrian head stamped ammo was $1.90 for a box on stripper clips, like 2 sets or 3 sets on stripper clips. But I'm on the phone. I'm on the no, just 1 second, John. I'm on
yeah,
the phone live with somebody here in this. Mom, I'm on YouTube. Mom, no, thank you. Oh, my mother just want to know if I want some supper. I had a little bite earlier, so I'm good. But getting back to that, like comparing to then to now, the Carcanos now at the cheapest ones I seen, the little cavalry carbines, $400, and the only ammo that's available is that privy partisan stuff, which it's hit or miss if it's going to shoot any good at them because the bullet diameter is a bit small. So
yeah,
if you got one that's still got a decent barrel, you might get, the pie plate group at 50 yards. Or if you luck out and you still have an M41 that's got a good barrel in it, that ammo shoots okay. I had one here that was built by Beretta. It was an M41 rifle. Uh, it had a super good barrel in it. And at the time, I was ordering bullets from Canada Ammo, the 268 diameter Hornady bullets, and they were shooting like excellent, And then all of a sudden, they stopped. They couldn't get them anymore. They said
yeah,
that Hornady stopped production on them. So I started shooting that PPU stuff and pretty partisan, and it didn't shoot much good. But a buddy of mine called me one day and he says some guy had sold him a bunch of 6.5 Swedish ammo, and there was 3 boxes of Norma 6.5 Carcano ammunition mixed in with it. And he said, if you want them, he said, I'll give them you $15 a box. And they were the 156 grain. They're called the Alaskan bullet. The big, long, round nose. I tried a few of those. Now, they shot well, but they're the correct diameter. But like you say, if you don't cast a bullet, and shoot it that way, that's a caliber that once was easy to find. Like everywhere, the guns were available and the ammo was everywhere. Now it's not.
yeah.
And I truly believe that's how they're trying to limit up here the use of guns with people, because our ammunition shelves in the stores for the longest time were basically empty.
Yeah, well, that's the way it was down here. Okay, or if you,
Yeah.
it was like they were getting $60 to $80 for a box of 9mm ball ammo,
Yep.
plain ammo. It's come down now, and not so much in the stores. You're going to pay a premium, a few dollars more. Like if I bought a case online, a 9mm ammo that I just bought, just some off brand like Max Tech or something, stuff made overseas or
Yeah.
something like that. It ends up, if I get a case, comes out about $17 a box.
Mm-hmm.
If I go to the Field and Stream store or the big box store, they're asking 20, 21,
Mm-hmm.
per box, and you're limited to so many boxes still, I guess.
Yep.
But it's starting to drop, and every week that it passes, it's like one week the stuff's 1,000 rounds is 350 or 360, depending on the brand, and they vary like $20 for the case, $20, $30, depending on the brand. Then, depending who you buy it from, you're paying shipping and you're paying sales tax.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, any internet sales, you got to pay sales tax.
Yep.
Which in the old days, when they didn't charge you sales tax, that's where you were getting a deal buying the stuff. because that was another $20 or $18 or something, added on. So now the price down here for just that baseline ammo has dropped to $250 in the past month. It's
Mm-hmm.
gone $100 less per case, which means they're starting to drown in this stuff because the ammunition dealers or the factories are still cranking this stuff out nonstop for the profits.
Yeah.
But now people ain't buying it, so now it's starting to pile up.
Stockpile.
Yep, the price starts dropping.
Well, it's like large rifle primers up here, like non-existent. Like, I was talking to my buddy that owns a gun shop just the other day, and I was up. I was telling you, I bought a 25-pound bag of number 5 lead shot,
Mm-hmm.
which years ago when I used to shoot skeets with the club here, we used to get a deal through Humisons. We used to get our lead for $11 a bag for 25 pounds.
Yep.
Now I just paid $72 with taxes, and as my buddy says, that's the friend price. and if you look behind me here, wait now, that jug of powder I just picked up, that's 700X. That's 4 pounds. That cost me $172, and that's the friend price. So as far as large rifle primers go, I spoke to him. I said, when do you figure you'll get any of those? He said, the minute they become available, he said, I got a list that looks like toilet paper of people that want them. But he said, of course, you're on it. I said, yeah. And they're going to be selling for probably $16 to $17 a hundred.
Ooh.
And I bought 209 primers for my shot shells just to have some. I bought 5 packages, and I paid $11 for them.
All right, got a question here.
Yep.
Is it true 7.65 Argentine bullets, not the cartridge, are the same? Yes. The 312 diameter bullet, okay,
Yep.
goes in the 303 British, the 7.7 Japanese, and the 7.65 Argentine. All use the same diameter bullet. I actually made a video on that.
It also goes into 7.62 54R.
Right. You're right, Rodney. I missed that one. That was the obvious one. So yeah, those 4 rifles use those bullets. And 170, if you can get them from PPU, 175, they make 150 and 175 or something, which is ideal for the Mosins and the Japanese rifle.
Yeah.
Heavier bullet. The Argentine and the 303. The 303, I did good with that bullet, and I think I did some 150s for the Enfield and used Varget, and actually it was quite an accurate load in a cartridge.
It is a good, Varget works good. The powder I use in mine, and I swear by it, is IMR 4350.
Yep. Yeah, 4350 is good in all of those rifles. I love them old powders. Let me see what other questions. Okay, there and then Graf saying no primers for Christmas. They have small pistol, large pistol, small rifle, but magnums and large rifle, nothing. Let me see. I'm going to pull up graphs here. I did not see primers, but the thing is also there was somebody selling some primers, but they were foreign ones, and some of the foreign ones can be hard, and I don't know how they marry up with the loads because they could be a little bit harder. All right,
there was some up here. They were made by Dominion, but I don't know if they were Russian imported. But I think with the stuff going on overseas, I think the importation of that stuff has kind of come to a halt.
Yeah. Well, all the small pistols are sold out. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't know when you checked or small rifle out of stock. If it was in stock, it goes out of stock, like they say, sometime in 15 minutes. I heard that when the stuff comes into stock, bam, you know.
Yeah, you got to keep an eye on it if you're doing that kind of buying.
Several of those boxes. Yeah, we'll see. It depends. If you're buying the last bunch I got, Federal Gold Medal, I bought from a buddy of mine, small pistol, and he gave me a break on several things. So I paid him $60 for it. So he made some money, put some money in his
Mm-hmm.
pocket, and they got to be 20 years old. He sold me some Federals that were 40 years old. Okay, and they
Mm-hmm.
all went off. It depends. But like he's saying here, yeah, several of those boxes are full of dud primers. If somebody left them out in the rain or in a storage shed or some stuff,
Yeah, dampness.
yeah, the dampness kills them. But I've seen stuff. One old timer asked me to load a bunch of ammo for him, and he had everything. It was from the late '80s. He had all the primers, he had powder, he had everything. He just said, so I went, took his brass. He had fired brass. I sized it, washed it all out for him and stuff, and cleaned it up. And then I took
Mm-hmm.
his materials and loaded them. I loaded him like 500-600 rounds of stuff. I charge him, so much a round just for the labor. But he had it all, and he says, "Oh, it's been sitting there. I used to reload, but I never got around to it." And then he ended up, I boxed it all up for him, and he gave it to his grandson or something. He's going to give the uh, something like that. All right, so he corrected it. It was not graphs. It was locally. Okay, well, I went into Bass Pro Shop. And I was picking up something. That's where I bought one of them Taurus pistols. And I looked, and the guy had primers in the back on the shelf. Uh, cartons of 1,000 of them. And you know, you're talking about something I paid $20-$30 for, paying, with the hazmat fees and at 150 for a brick of 1,000 primers. I mean, that's what's the point of reloading? I can buy the factory ammo and make out cheaper. So I
Yeah.
asked him, "What are your primers going for, if you don't mind me asking?" And he looks, and a guy come in and bought 1,000 of them. And he said $98. And you can tell they've been sitting there a while. And they were CCIs, still had the more modern box, so they're not real old. But it
Mm.
must have been the last shipping day. They're selling them for almost $100 a brick, and I know damn well they didn't pay that much for it.
No.
Oh, boxes were new from the store, but what brand of primers was it? They were brand new from the store, but you're not telling me, Mike, what brand of primer, because I forget what they were selling. It was one of the reloading places. It would have come out to $80 a brick, and there were 5,000 cartons, so it was quite high. And it's double, but they were foreign made. I believe I don't know if they're Fiocchi or something like that, but they were a military type brand or something. I know they came from overseas. And you used to be able to buy them for less than CCI when they came out. Like Wolf primers were always cheaper. All the foreign primers were less, a percentage less than CCIs and the standard stuff I was doing. Okay, let's see. We got CCI. See, now if that was CCI, are they running the factory to where they're not checking the machine? Their quality control is failing because they're just going nuts. That's another thing. During the Obama administration when we had the other ammo rush. There was brand name factory ammo people were buying it wouldn't fit in a revolver, nevertheless automatic, because they just were running the factory and not uh, maintaining the machines, or their quality control went to shit. Let me see. $79.99 for 1K federal small rifle. Yeah, going close to 100. No Winchester brand. Okay. The tax. You can't find. Yeah, you're not going to find wolf primers. They're not doing that. All right, we've got a question here. I've got a few pounds of IMR SR 4758 I picked up at a garage sale last year.
4759, probably they mean.
Yeah, 47. Yeah, that's what I'm sorry, 4759. I read it wrong.
Yep.
Well, first of all, it's no longer made, so you're not going to find current load data. You have to go buy a 30-year-old reloading manual, like a Lyman or something, and load
Mm-hmm.
data in there for it. See, that's why I tell you guys, man, when you find or go on Amazon, find 30, 40-year-old reloading manuals and start a library of it.
Yep.
And that way you can find loads. There's a lot of cast bullet loads in there and stuff.
Yeah.
Lyman manuals don't carry over a lot of stuff. They'll drop it for whatever reason. They'll have a load and a load date in that which they tested in the manual from 1980, but you buy a manual from 2000 and all that information is not carried over in there.
No.
So that's the best way to find, and that is a good powder for several things.
Yep.
They stopped making it about 5 years ago.
I've actually got some here. I was using it in 43 Mauser, and that is the only smokeless powder that mimics the military factory loading, like with case fill. Because sometimes you use smokeless in the 43, they recommend fillers and whatnot. And I tend to want to stay away from fillers with that. I was using, I think the magic number was 28 grains in a 7184 rifle with the factory size bullet, and that was the exact military loading. It's my buddy was telling me all about it. He had an article in a book there, and it was showing that how they figure out that that is the powder to use. It's something to do with its density or something to do with its how it fills the case capacity.
Yeah.
And it equals the black powder equivalent. So it's the pressure is way down. You're not going to hurt. It's not going to hurt anything. But I've also used it in 45-7. Yeah, hey, it was good in that too.
Yeah, they were, because those powders, they actually made several powders back in the old days. Those were some of them. And I forget what other application they had, but what was the one? There was one powder got discontinued that I looked it up. Someone said that was a substitute for black powder. I forget what it was.
IMR PB.
Yeah, PB. That's it.
Or it's called porous base PB.
PB. They stopped making PB, and that
that was good stuff.
Let's see, taxi to Joe.
Now they also stopped IMR 7625, IMR 4756, the 4759, and PB all at the same time.
Yeah. Oh, my man is on PDF. Could be my brother. Yeah, I don't know nothing about the modern military or what they're doing. I know they're changing all kinds of. I bought those. Yeah, you need a 7184 just because you got the ammo, the original military ammo.
Um, I'll tell you, that's up here in Canada. Those 43s, they were at one time you could see those things a dime a dozen. Now they're quite a rare thing to find that are still good to shoot.
Yeah. Well, all of that stuff, because a lot of the stuff they didn't have ammo for it. You'd find them at the gun shows just lying around. Nobody wanted them.
Well, the only company that made aftermarket ammunition for the 43 Mauser was the Imperial Dominion up here, CIL Industries.
They were the
Um,
ones that did it.
yeah, and the only issue with shooting that brass is that it's got a different case head on it. They call it a balloon head, and the primer pocket walls are very thin and prone to cracking after you reload them, or if the brass gets old, they crack down there. And being that those rifles don't have a self-venting bolt body,
Got to leak.
generally the gas travels through the firing pin hole right back into the shooter's face. And
Yeah.
I can tell you from experience, I got it, and it wasn't pleasant. I didn't get hurt, but I had sunglasses on, but my sunglasses got all pockmarked from the stuff coming back. I cracked a case.
Well, Carcanos. Somebody asked the Carcanos. Depends on the bullet. Let me look and get the correct numbers, guys. Or see, I don't know these numbers right offhand, but I can tell you using the Hornady bullet. Uh,
The Carcano is a nice little round to shoot, though.
yes, it is. I can't remember. I used an IMR powder with that, and I kind of ran out. Um, yeah, here's some of that other. I went to a local gun shop. They had a case of 7 pounds of that, and that's where I got that. I'm hanging on to that. That's discontinued. But what the hell I used?
If memory serves me, when I was shooting my Carcanos, I got the best results from IMR 3031.
Well, some 3031. It depends on the bullet.
Yeah.
I using the Hornady bullet. I used an IMR powder, and I got that load out of that old manual, and that worked well with that heavy bullet. But then when I went with the new bullet, which is 149 grain or 140 grain, but PPU does make it to the big diameter. I used a different, I got better results. I tried it with the old powder, it didn't work. I got better results with, I can't remember offhand. I can't do, I got so many things going on. But I made videos on it, and I think I did 6.5 Carcano. I did it.
I believe you did, yep.
You can, what you got to do, it's kind of a weird cartridge because it isn't driving it out there to varmint bullet. I forget what the hell I did with that, but I went and I did load a bunch of that stuff with it. And if you check my videos out, I made 4064. That may be, that's what I think it was.
Yeah, it's a good powder for it.
powder I used, it works well in the Japanese, but I think
Yep.
464 is what I used because I got it on my Carcano channel, and I think you've seen it. That's what it was. 4064 is what I used. Um, no, I think 4064 is what I used. I can't remember. It had a green label on the one IMR powder with the heavier bullet. Then I used something more common.
IMR 4320 perchance.
Not quite sure. I'd have to go look in that. But
Yeah.
my brain, the older I get, I can't store all the knowledge. And you guys ask me, what powder? I can't remember right
Yeah.
offhand.
I can tell you, like I had two Carcano rifles. I had a little carbine, or as you'd say down there, carbine. The carbine Moshetto, they called them, the little short one. And then I had the M41 rifle, but with the M41, it was the one that had the two crisscross rifles on the breech. They had them for marksman's units.
No,
And I guess,
they say that's what they do.
yeah,
Rack of 50 guns. They take 10 of them. They shoot them. And if they pass, they stamp them. And so that's why you don't see it.
yeah,
Check for, and why the marksmen would use them, or the competitors, is when they went in and found them, they knew that the factory tested it and regulated the sights. Okay, they would only take a few out of the group, sample it. If they didn't pass, then that's what the Italians said. So I don't know.
yeah. I do know that that particular rifle, that's the one I told you had was made by Beretta, but
Right.
it actually shot really, really well. Like it shot as good as a brand new rifle,
I
But
had
that's the one I was using, the 3031 powder, and I had really, really good luck with it.
I had some Berettas that were shot. I had some Carcanos that were shot out, and the
Yep.
only thing was that oversized cast bullet would get it. Well, I got the video where I made it, where that 9124. I thought it was because they sawed the barrel off and everyone said they're inaccurate. Then when they had a bunch of them come in, I got 3 or 4 of them. And come to
Mm-hmm.
find out, if the barrel was good, it shot well. So what it was is that gun was just worn out, and people said that they're trash rods and nobody used them. Well, somebody took that gun and shot it to where they worn the damn rifling right out of it. you know. So Carcanos, if you understand, you got to know where the gun shoots. And that's the thing about it. If you're a type of person that you have to line the iron sights up directly and shoot to where it hits directly, you're not going to shoot a Carcano well. If you know where a Carcano shoots, and like with that huge V notch, I know at one range I put it to where that notch is there, and then I just lean forward till I don't see it, then fire. I know where it'll hit. But the only thing is, they're talking meters, and all the ranges are in yards. So when you put it halfway in a notch, okay, and you shoot, okay, it's like you have to have a big backstop. And then once I get the sight picture, it's just remembering that sight picture. But what's nice about the Carcano, if it shoots to the right or the left, that that notch is so wide, you just slide it over to where it touches in your sight picture to one side, and you could be right on, man.
Yeah,
But
the sights on some of them are pretty crude.
yeah, and some of them they're way off. I mean, some of them shoot at 50 yards, shoot 4 foot high or something.
Mm-hmm.
They show you in the book all the stuff they use to gauge the sights and the tools and stuff. The guy shows that, but some of them carbines have a little itty bitty front sight. I mean, the gun was beautiful. The conditioning of the rifle was beautiful because the thing shot 1.5 miles high. That's why nobody shot it. That's
Yeah.
why. 4350. Yeah. 4064. Yeah. 4350s, I think, a little bit too slow burning for that. You need a quicker burning powder in the
Yeah.
Carcano. That's why the 4064, and I forget the other one I used, a little bit quicker, and you use a lighter load. The only nice thing about the Carcano is the case capacity. You're not putting a ton of powder in there.
You don't have a lot of case capacity, no. I generally class it on par, like I would say it's like 30-30 Winchester, really.
Yeah. Okay, but like he's saying, like Zoggy's saying, I had pressure problems with IMR powders. Which powders? Okay,
Yeah.
like I said, I did not use 3050 and 4064. I used with a lighter bullet, 160 grain bullet. I can't remember what the hell powder I used, but it's in that old Lyman loading manual, and it did work out.
Well, I can tell you with 4350, you probably wouldn't get any pressure problems because you could fill the case with that likely, and it wouldn't build enough to do anything because, like you say, it's very slow. But a faster powder like well, 3031 at class is medium rate with 4064. You want to start getting into ball powders that are quick, like BLC-2 or 335. Variegate's a bit quicker. Yeah, you could probably, start playing within half a grain of something and get pressure signs. But for the most part, just respect the manuals. I would never go and hot rod an old Milsurp rifle anyhow, regardless of what condition it's in.
Well, see, that's the thing I was telling my members. There's certain powders you use, and somebody will go, "Well, I have this powder." Well, that ain't gonna work. I mean, my
No.
information testing, I use one specific powder. Well, I don't have it, or they don't have it at the store. Well, I can't help you there because
Well, that's
it
right.
tell you to just take some other powder that you got and try that because it might not be correct. And
Well,
sometimes it is weird. You just got to go and test some different things that are in the load manual, and you will find that some of the shit in the load manual don't shoot worth crap.
that's right.
You by chance take one of them listings out of there, and that's what I said I didn't like about Lyman is I noticed in their older manuals I find a load that worked real good, but even if they carried the cartridge over, you get the next issue or the second issue after it that
Yeah,
loads not in there. There's totally all different stuff in there.
that's right. It's like one of the old Hodgson books I got here. They list H450 and H870 in a lot of load data, but they're discontinued. And I've got a little bit of H450 here. That stuff is slower than molasses.
Yeah.
And anything that I tried it in, it did not shoot worth a darn. I tried it in 30-06, 303, 308, you name it. 270, all listed loads, and I had all the correct components. Just, the gun just didn't perform well with it. I had a load for 303 with it. I tried it. Like the velocities were consistent, around the 2,300 foot per second mark. Seemed like a relatively mild shooting load. Then I switched to H335. The velocities pretty much remained the same, but the accuracy was like night and day.
Yep. See, that's the thing. And then the different bullets. I tried using that same load with the 160, and I tried something else with that 140 grain PPU bullet they make. And it's
Yeah.
weird to me. They don't load it on the ammo, but they'll sell you the correct diameter bullets
Yeah.
as a reloading component, not as live ammo. So I have no idea. It's sometimes that you just got to get into it. And that's why I tell people, I put a lot of time, money, and effort into doing this stuff. So when you ask me, well, what's your load? Well, that's why now all my load data, you got to be a member and pay a monthly fee. It's not exorbitant, but if you want the load data, I'll give it to you, but it's not going to be for nothing because I spent thousands of dollars.
Oh yeah, I feel you there. Like I've
You
like
in my
just by what I bought just the other day. I mean, there's guys that ask me, for shot shell stuff and whatever. You know, I mean, there's. I'll put it to you like this: there's data that I've come up with on my own for my own personal use that works in my gun. I don't say it's going to be 100% safe in your gun. And for
Mhm.
me to go tell somebody, well, hey, well, this load works, and then some poor guy does it, and his gun blows apart, and I don't know the condition of his gun. I don't know, did he do it right? Did he? I wasn't there to watch it, or so I kind of refrain from that myself.
Yeah,
You know, like if somebody asks me, what's a popular powder to use in a certain caliber, I don't have a problem saying a powder. How you wish to use that powder, that's up to you. Consult the load manual. But if you're looking at a list of powders in a load manual, and like I'll give you an example, like 30-06, 180 grain load for hunting a deer hunt. And they list 4831, 4350, 4064, and IMR 4320. In my personal experience, my go-to powder is 4350. But your gun might not shoot it, but mine shoots at A1. You really have to sit there and figure, am I going to buy all those four powders at $50 a pound to find the one that works? Now I'm stuck with 3 pounds that don't work, and it's like you said, it costs money. People are going to realize that, right?
yeah. But see here, he brought up another problem. I have the old Lyman reloading manual, and most powders cause pressure problems. Okay, the Italian SBOM channel recommended using the Vittori N130. All right, are you developing the load? Okay, do you start at the low end and go up? What I do is start at the bottom, go with a half grain, and I fire off a bench rest over a chronograph. And
Yep.
what do you actually mean by pressure problems? Are the cases splitting, or you can't cycle the gun, or what? See,
Yeah.
when
Do you
we,
like do you have hard case extraction?
I really can't. I can't
Yeah.
diagnose the problem or figure out what the hell's
Well,
going
see, in relation to pressures, I mean, you could have anywhere. So you could have hard extraction. You could have primers being pierced. You could have pooling around the primer. You could have split cases,
on. Yeah,
stiff recoil. I mean, there's variables there to say there's pressure signs. Well, you know,
yeah, and then
if you
you're not
don't say what
the
you're experiencing, you don't know.
opponents either. Because are you using like wolf primers, which are hotter than standard primers? Okay.
Yeah,
You just can't say, oh, use this powder because that's a problem they had with the shotguns. They brought the wolf primers for the shotguns and that, and they used that weird powder over in Europe. It's like talcum powder. And a guy
mm-hmm.
told me it's real fine like that. You got to use a hotter primer. So they
Yep,
were mixing these hotter primers with the different powder loads. And what happens is you do get a spike in pressure, but it
yeah,
doesn't cause a catastrophic failure. But
no,
when you're shooting trap or skeet, where you go through a couple thousand rounds in 6 months,
yeah,
then you realize your gun's getting real loose, and you take it to a
yeah,
gun, and he looks at it and says, "Well, we're using these primers and doing this." And he goes, "Yeah, you're like the third gun to come across like that. It's
yeah,
not enough to destroy the gun, but it's enough pressure to
no.
wear the gun out."
Well, I remember looking in the old Lyman shot shell manual once, and I know that Bullseye is mainly a pistol primer or pistol powder.
Mm-hmm.
They did list a 1 ounce loading for Bullseye powder, And I thought by it being a small amount, like compared to other using other powders, that it would stretch your pound of powder further. But I'll tell you, that small amount of bullseye kicked you in the shoulder twice as hard as a larger amount of, let's say, green dot.
I think bullseye is like one of the fastest burning powders you can get.
It is
And
that,
green,
and there's what's the other one? I think tight group is pretty darn fast as well. But they had an actual published load, but that's the only manual that I ever owned that I've seen that load, that powder listed for shotgun. And it was only those components, which I did have some, and I did try it. And it was for a 2 3/4 shot shell. And you wouldn't think a 1 ounce load would bop you, but I'm going to tell you, it was punchy compared to others.
all right, so he's starting here. Yes, even start loads. All right, so you're having the start loads causing bolt opening and flattened primers. Now, there's a weird thing. If you use ball powder, there was some weird ball powder, and it's in the Hornady loading manual. Putting ball powder in with a Magnum primer. And the load in the book would do that. I mean, I thought the gun was screwed up or something. It would just go off high pressure. And what it is, it's the lower load. So something tells me you're using ball powder. And I've had that happen. And several other people have had that with the Carcano. If you follow
Yep.
that recipe and start, you got to load it up to where it ignites and that. I don't like using ball powder in the Carcano. Okay. I kind of don't really like using ball powder at all. I like the stick powder. I stick with IMR and I never had trouble with it. But I think you were telling me you said you had high pressure with IMR powders. You know, I haven't had that problem. But I did have that problem
When
with the
you got
ball. And you're not telling me what
when you
primer you're
got
using. Yeah.
well, flat primers is and the bolt opening
Yeah.
on a bottom end load. That's
I've had that. Yeah.
it's, I another thing you'd want to be checking is headspace on the gun too.
That could be true also.
If it's really loose, if it's really loose, I mean that could be getting you creating issues there. But I mean, flat primers, that's usually indication of high pressure. It's like I've never seen. I've seen caved in primers, like concave primers with low end loads, like exert showing low pressure signs. But I've never seen
Well,
a flat one on.
what you do is if you get too hot, what's wrong is they're too hot, so the casing is not filled, and you get a flash over to powder. I don't know.
Well, yeah, there's an air gap there. It's like it might be like when the case is laying down, it's on the verge of like a hang fire almost. Like you get like the flame shooting over it. You might not get consistent powder burn. Another question I would ask too is the powder that he used when he looked down the bore. Did he have a bunch of unburned powder in the bore? Because that would tell me right there the powder is completely in the either the amount that he's using or the powder itself, that the burn rate is just not right for that cartridge.
Yeah, that's true too. But see, a lot of my antique guns using 57 or 5477 or whatever the hell it is.
5744, yep.
Yep. You'll get clinkers, even though you're getting it. And I get the bullets are traveling to the right bullet, right weight, and it's traveling right to spec, 1,300 feet per second. A lot of them. It's just
Yeah.
that it doesn't, that just comes with the territory. A lot of people don't like it, and like you're saying, they say, well, the burn rate, everything else, but the pressures are safe to use, like in the Dutch, uh, Beaumont, the
Yep,
Vernals, and all the other stuff. I mean, I
that's
get
right. Yep, yep,
extra of it.
yeah.
It's,
That's what I like 4759 for, like in 43 miles. Or that was probably like it almost looked like you never fired the gun. That's how clean the barrel would stay.
yeah, yeah. So there's things there, but I had trouble with the Carcano on that point, and another guy, and he was using the same load, and I forget what the hell it was. It was a ball powder load, and they said, "Well, with ball powder, and got to use a Magnum primer." So some of the stuff published doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like recoil. All right, that's for
And,
you. Light charge flashover.
and Carcano is a mild cartridge anyhow, and uh, there's no real making it a powerhouse because it's not a powerhouse. It's a medium bore service rifle. Power levels on par with a 30-30. Velocities are on par with a 30-30. So I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's a good little deer gun. I mean, it's something great for a deer stand or a walking through the woods gun. 100 yards, see a deer. Take them through the lungs. That deer's coming down. But I mean, there's better choices like the newer 6.5s. You look at the Creedmoor or the Grendel or even the Swedish Mauser. They've got a little bit more case capacities and they're more efficient, right? The Carcano,
Yeah,
that's an old design.
that's an old gun. That's back in the day where they're using that nitroglycerin based smokeless powder and all kinds of
Yeah,
weird crap. And you have to remember the military gun is designed to put lead out and injure or kill somebody in a broad field. Okay.
yes,
And the Italians kind of screwed up by not uh, when all those things fell obsolete. Um, they didn't modernize. They kept trying to recycle their guns and stay with it because the country just didn't have the money. It's much like the Austrians, or why did the Mosin Nagant stay in? Because
yeah,
them things were so large. By the time they got the production going, to stop and change it over to something completely different, they just couldn't afford to do it. That's why them Austrian straight poles stayed in the service till World War II in
yeah,
those countries. And same with the Mosin Nagant. They did have other designs. They're trying to do semi-autos and all that. But the thing
yeah,
is, they're set up, the factory's cranking them out. And what did it take them? It took them so many years till they got 37 million of them made. That was enough for the Russian army because, you
yeah.
know, that's why you see a lot of that stuff stay.
But one
And
thing I always liked about the 54R, it was always a powerful round from day start to day end. It was
yeah,
never like it's they I mean they use that in machine guns, they use it in semi-autos, they use it in bolt guns, and I mean they made light ball, heavy ball, armor piercers. It's
mhm,
a stout round. It's they say it's 308. I think it's closer to 30-06 myself.
it is. It
I
is.
mean, I've hunted with it, I've owned them, I've used them, I've loaded for it, and I'll tell you, there if there was modern, like there is a couple of the newer Bakel single shot rifles they had out, and the combination guns, you could get them chambered in that round. They make wonderful hunting guns.
All right. Someone's got a question here. Have you ever tried red dot and cast bullets? Um, yeah, I found in an 8 millimeter Mauser, again in the old reloading manual, I found that red dot and green dot work quite well uh, in with a cast bullet, and I've gotten good results with them. And like you're saying about the flashover, I put a 12, 15 grain load in there, and even when it lays down with no filler or backing, it fires and they fire fine. I fired hundreds of
Yeah.
them like that. Okay.
And the other thing too, now in regards to that, like I've done that with 4570 and 43 Mauser,
Yeah.
uh, red dot, green dot, blue dot, and Herco. I had a load with Herco and the 43 Mauser. I got it on my old channel. If you go watch my old channel at the range, at 50 yards with the 43 Mauser, I put 5 shots in the size of a 50-cent piece with iron sights. And that was just something that I tried on a whim,
Right.
and it shot. It was great. And the thing is, you get plenty of case fill, and it's a coarse powder, and the pressure is low, like you say, and clean burning, and it worked great. Like there's uses for it, but you got to find, it's it's not something that if you're kind of green to reloading, I
Yeah.
would stick to the books. I wouldn't just go try this, try that, and
Yeah. See, that's it. But yeah, I've used it. Actually, I used it with 8 millimeter Mauser when I was experimenting with the 8x50 Austrian.
mm-hmm.
Got an oversized cast bullet, and whoever designed it, it works good in an 1890 uh, rifle. But the guy kind of screwed me when he cut my molds. I'm gonna go have to get another bunch cut because I have a rifle that is in mint condition, a little 95 carbine,
Mm-hmm.
8x50, and the bullet does not fit in the throat. So I have to have a new mold cut and change something on the nose diameter by about 5 thousandths. And then I'm going to see if I can perfect the bullet, and it's just going to be a cast bullet for the 8x50 cartridge. It's one of my future projects. And
Could
if
you
I,
swage them? Could you swage them down?
well, I cast them way to hell oversized, and I have different swages, and I swage. It's not, it's not that what rides on the bore. See that you're talking about the back end of the bullet.
Right.
Is that nose is tapered, and it starts at
Oh,
the base and it goes.
yeah.
Okay. In the one rifle, the older gun has a huge throat, so that thing will chamber and it fires accurately. Okay.
Right.
But what happens is in a newer gun, they change the chamber diameter, and that bullet is 4 or 5 thousandths off. And the same with the Kropatschek, it won't chamber in there. But if I get a new mold and cast them, I think I might have a winner because it like just barely fits in there. And when you fire it, that bullet will probably grab the rifling the whole length of it. Because if you ever see the bullets fired from the military ammo, the
Yeah.
rifle almost runs the whole length of the damn bullet because that centerpiece, when you fire it, it drives that plug and then expands.
Large bearing surface.
Yeah. So the way you cheat is you design a bullet with a long nose that's very gradually tapered and just fits in there. See, this is where this hairy shit. I mean,
Yeah.
you
I'm
got.
trying to turn my light on. There we
All
go.
right. Let's see. We got Carcanos. So test lead content in your blood regularly. No, I haven't. But the last time after 25, 30 years, I had it checked by my neurologist. I don't have high lead levels.
No, and I reloaded enough with it too, and I'm still here.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you that I do know a guy who casted bullets and he was using wheel weights. And what happened was he was outdoors melting, making ingots, and he wasn't actually casting, he was just melting wheel weights that were given to him. Long time guy doing this, but some of the wheel weights had a plastic coating on them.
Yeah.
And as they were being added to the pod, the vapors rose, and he was near the pod, and he passed out on the ground. And the neighbor found him laying down with this pot of lead going, and they didn't really know what happened to him. They thought he took a heart attack. So they called the ambulance, and they took him to the hospital, and it was the actual the carcinogens that were into that coating when it burned were like instantaneous poison and knockout gas, just like that. And he was on the ground, and he was outside. He was in a didn't matter. He was in a well ventilated area. He had like an awning over him in his backyard, and this is where he did his stuff with the propane burner. And he would melt his stuff down, put them in like cookie sheets, and make pucks out of it. You know what I mean?
It's called phosgene gas, and it's another thing. Like when we're on shipboard firefighting, all the cables and crap are coated with it. If the fire starts and burns that plastic on the wiring, when you're in a ship, it's like a giant machine. You got bundles of cables running through spaces. When you get a good fire going and burn all that insulation off the cables, it produces something called phosgene gas. And that's probably what it was. He was burning that plastic, and it created that, and it'll kill you instantly if you get enough of it.
Well, he was in the hospital for almost 3 weeks.
Yep,
the first week they didn't think he was pulling through. They thought he was done for.
That's what it was.
And then the second week he started turning around, and he had to have a blood transfusion and everything.
Yeah, because it puts toxins. It absorbs it into your system. He's lucky.
Yep.
Yeah, because they do coat them. You get the new ones, they got some weird crap on them. Like you said, like a plastic coating or a paint or something on there.
Yeah, and that's what this was. This was a local garage that he was dealing with. And the guy just called him normally. He says, well, hey, he says, Pete, he says, I got a bunch of wheel weights here. He said, if you want to come down, there's like 4 or 5 gallon buckets here. He says, they're just in our way. Come take them. And like some of them were like, when they take them off, they break the little metal tabs off, and you can't reuse them. So they just toss them, right?
Yep.
So Peter was more than grateful to take the lead contributions. You know, it's not cheap to come across. And I was talking to a friend of his one day, and he says, yeah, he said, Peter ran to, this was a while back, of course, but he said, no, he said he was melting some out in the backyard, and he said the neighbor found him on the ground. They thought he took a heart attack, called the ambulance, and when they got there, they noticed that this pot of lead was still going, melting or whatever, so they put 2 and 2 together and figured that there was some toxic like vapors coming out, so they shut the burner off immediately when they got there, and that kind of, I think it did them a favor. And no, he spent like 3 weeks in the hospital, and finally when he got out, and now when he goes through his lead, he like basically dumps them buckets out, and he goes through them and very meticulous to make sure that if any of them's got the plastic, they just get tossed out. They're not even used.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
No. Well, lead's still about $3 a friggin' pound when you can find it, and then they don't.
Well,
they do not smelt lead in the U.S. no more, so all of it's coming from a foreign country. Lead's no longer processed. The last plant down in Louisiana, they shut down. So if you get it, I guess the stuff I get out of California, there's one place I buy it in bars, 5-pound bars. I guess all of it's processed out in China. And then even that, and they're telling you it's pure lead. Some of it, man, it don't cast well. It's got some weird in it.
I'm trying to think. The company that we get the lead from up here that I buy is called Humisons.
Yeah.
And that's what's printed on the bags. And that's out of Ontario up here. And I know my buddy just got an order in at his shop. Now, the shipping is kind of insane on it. When he orders his lead, he tries to order 30 bags at a time. It comes in on a pallet.
You're talking lead shot. I'm talking about 5-pound lead bars for casting.
Oh, okay.
They harden lead shot with arsenic when they drop
Yep.
it to the shot tower. That stuff
Yep.
really does not cast a good bullet.
No.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you
Um.
can process shot like you said. Yeah, I remember going there. It used to be 14, then I remember it went up to $19 a bag. And
Yep.
I was shooting a lot of trap. Then when it went up to 60 and 70, like you're talking, I used to shoot 2,500 rounds a year. You
Yep.
know, right? And you're figuring, I think a 25-pound bag gives you what?
Excuse me.
Depending on a load, it gives you enough. I was like using that up in two damn shooting sessions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you another thing that I bought while I was at my buddy's shop, and he had got it ordered in he ordered it in for a guy, and he backed out on it. Was a 5 pound box of triple O buck, Hornady triple O buck, and I paid $56 for it.
That ain't bad.
But
Because that's
it's
hard to find. A lot of the shot sizes are tough to find.
yeah, and he got it in like, and the guy kind of backed out once he seen the price, and it's like when I opened the box looked big, but it was two bags, individual bags with 2.5 pounds each in there because I weighed them, and
Mm-hmm.
it was like triple odd buck. So I figured I should grab that. It's good to use up here for the hunting I do, and up here we're allowed to hunt deer with it. So
Yeah, and they ban lead for hunting. They ban lead on ranges, but where I am, we still use it. It depends, but it's another one. Well, I don't know, Rod. I think I'm gonna wrap this up. 2 hours was kind of my limit. I don't think
right
we've
on.
gone over 15 people because holidays. Um,
Yep.
Wife wants to get dinner ready here in a little bit, so I told her I'd do
Sure.
2 hours. But we had enough guys come out, and this will be recorded, so if they go later, they can see what we talked about. And we'll
Absolutely.
try it again next weekend and see
Sure.
if we get a turnout or so. All right, but hey, it was good seeing you again. I hope the hell you heal up here quick, buddy.
Yeah, yeah. The pinched nerve thing is kind of, is kind of kicking my butt right now since the last probably the a steady week with it so far. And like I said, my buddy the chiropractor is gonna Boxing Day. He's gonna make a special trip into the clinic, and he's gonna try that laser treatment again on my hip and on my bottom of my leg. And he found two spots where the nerve is kind of impeded, and he said that's the issue I'm having. And what's funny, it's just my right side. My left side is perfect. There's nothing wrong at all. It's just my right side, and it's just my right leg. It's nothing else. It's just my right leg.
Hmm.
So, yeah,
Okay, like I said, it's been fun. I'll see you next week, bud.
right on. We'll take care and have a good holidays and say hi to the
Yep.
family for me, and ciao for now.
All right, and all you guys that made it today, have a Merry Christmas and thanks for showing up.
Yeah, same for me too.
Okay, guys.
Okay, bye now.